In this chapter 9 or step 9 of our texts project, we're going to finish the CRUD functionality. And what this means is we're going to have to convert our previous state exercise where we were saving every post into state into Firebase. So one thing that the book doesn't go into that you need to do is actually create a database. I've already done that. To do this, what you would do is choose the real-time database and click on Create Database, and then you'll have it. Now, with me, I have this database already set up. If you can see, I'm going to go ahead and I can go ahead and create it again if you like. But start it in test mode because you want to be able to read and write to the database, and we'll down the road we'll cross the bridge of how we should work with this thing. So that's in the end part of the deployment and how to put this on a server information. So that's just so you know, it's in chapter or number 10, step 10, deploying the project, which we'll do next week, the last two steps. However, right now we are back here, and this is my database. I just literally created it right now, and right now these are the rules. So it'll be read, write, true. You can actually write these over. You can control the backups, and these are the usage and how often you've used it. So this is my data right here, and I've gone ahead and run the code from this. Let's say test Firebase. We'll go into the code and I'll show you what needs to happen on this section. So now it says test Firebase, and if I go back to my database up here, you see a post. And I can go ahead and hit that content. You see it says test Firebase. There's the title and the slug above. So that's our ID. We can go ahead and add another one. Let's go ahead and add another one. I'll do second post. So you can see how the IDs get assigned. So the thing is that I never had to create a table. Our code does that for us. So now when I go back to my database again and hit refresh, hopefully the data comes up and I have a second section here, which I do, and there's the second post, the slug itself, and there's the ops, and this is the insert second post. So this is kind of the JavaScript object notation of this thing. And you can always make this portable by just simply exporting the JSON. And now I have JSON in my computer, and we can take a good look at it. So this is our database right now. And unfortunately it opened Xcode. That's not what I really want right now. I'd rather have it open with anything else, Sublime maybe, something light. But these are the records right now. I have posts, and then I have a key, and I have the content, and I have the title right here, test Firebase, and the slug and the title and everything we need. So that gives you an idea of how it works. Now let's dive into the code real quick so we can get a good look at what's happening. So I am now, let me get out of this section here, but now I'm going back into the code, and if we go into our app.js, all we had to do is change the references from away from state. So when we look at for example, add new post, this right here. We have a post reference that equals firebase.database ref posts. And we're doing the same thing we did before, but in this case we're going to delete the post key, and we'll push the post onto the array of posts reference. That's it, and then set the state for message saved. That's it. Same with the update post. In this case, we're going to take the posts and add the key to it. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go back to my React app right now, and I'm going to edit this, okay? And you see how it says this is the slug test, and we hit save, and it goes back, and that way we have that section updated. So we can delete again, we can update whatever we want. We'll do 2 and 2. Here, we'll go back and add a 2. Hit save. There's test Firebase 2. We go to our section, and you see test Firebase 2 live updates. So all we're doing is controlling the JSON here by using the object Firebase and its database method. And when we get this right here, the post ref, that equals that section. So we're just pushing post. Once we do that, it's added. That's it. That's literally it. Okay. Now, a couple things about this chapter that I want to show you real quick. We'll go back to 9. And it's important that you take a look at this because, well, we do control the methods. We're changing the methods for add, update, and delete. And the component did mount is getting the posts back from the database. This is an important part. Changing the post ID to reference the Firebase keys. And what we're doing to do that is to go into the new route in the app component and modifying the post to be key null instead of ID null. That's an important part of this, the new route for that section. So if we go to the route and we look for new, which is right here, this is where the key is null. So because we're doing new post, we don't want to have a key. We want to have a key instead of an ID. And that'll allow us to have the key from the Firebase, because, and the book explains this really well, with state, if we delete a previous ID, we can use that ID again. Not in this case, not with Firebase. That ID is going to be unique forever, cannot be reused. So that's an important part of this. I'm going to go ahead and, this is deleting the data, so now we only have one object. Actually, two objects. There you go, right there. So that's an important part of this, where that slug is. Okay. The rest is pretty simple. You can get it right into the methods. Like this is the component did mouth, and instead of calling state, we're using the database for posts. And on, this means on load, we're going to get a snapshot of the posts and snapshot value, which is a property in Firebase. So, and then we just simply loop around it and, push all the posts onto each section and then set the state for the new state posts. So we start the constant new state post to be an empty array, and we're looping around each of the posts and continually pushing on the object. That's why you have posts, whatever the post is, .slug, title, and content on each one. And then we set the state for that. That's how we get the data, and then we simply render that object. But the only difference now is that we're using Firebase.database, Firebase database, and Firebase.database. So back to the book real quick. Switching IDs to Firebase keys is huge. And the form extends component, this is another thing. Since we're using keys instead of IDs, our post form is going to change ever so slightly. So if I go to my source right here, and we go to components, and we look for post form, you're going to see instead of the ID, it's key. Slug, title, content. Key, slug, title, content. That's what we're doing every single time now. So that's another important issue here. This is not a long chapter at all, but it's just simply going to add the database itself. So here, this is postref equals Firebase database. That gives you access. And you can think about all the files and things that we're doing. We're just creating a table called posts at this point. So what happens is the Firebase tools that we installed by doing npm install Firebase is able to seek out whether a post table exists, a post object in our Firebase database. If it's not, it creates it. And the way we display in real time is calling the API, which is what the component did mounted. It's really as simple as that. And once you see the code, I think you'll like it. Okay, so let's talk about your final projects now. If you're going to do this instead of an Ajax project, you just have to keep with the pattern and work with what you are saving. Right now we're doing posts, but I would ask you to change it to something special. See if you can do an upload with the cloud storage. User upload maybe an image. That would be the next stage in your growth. But we'll get back to that. As for now, this week, this is a nice bit of progress. We've gone through 5 to 9, and next we can just deploy and refactor.